Greetings and welcome back to room 303 in our Talks with Walt, as we are calling our readings through the deathbed edition of Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass. We turn now to A Certain Civilian, poem number 38 of the Drum Taps 43. This is a very controversial poem. In fact, I've once had a student that said, let me get this straight, basically Whitman's just giving the middle finger to somebody. It is in fact a poem where Whitman is again the iconoclast, as we were talking about in an earlier poem. You'll remember in To Thee, O Cause that we said that Whitman said, my book and the war are one. He will also say in this poem, I have born, have been born of the same as the war was born. And I think, this argument that the war produced in some ways the Whitman that becomes the Walt Whitman of Leaves of Grass. And we'll have more to say about this when we get to Oh Captain, My Captain. But the idea that Whitman was in some ways empowered, we might say, to be able to share what he really thinks about what's going on, not only in the war, but in his poetic life as well. Now, our assumptions are that you've been following our stuff at learnstrong.net, down the left-hand side, Talks with Walt, our playlist, everything from inscriptions. I've given a set of introductory comments to drum taps, and we just worked with Delicate Cluster. Our Nortons here will tell us that in the 1865 drum taps, this defiant poem, Norton's calls it, and it is, like we said, was composed of 6 lines only, from the first of which it took its title. In 1871-76, it was included in the supplement passage to India in the group Ashes of Soldiers, with its present title and the addition of lines 2, 5, 6, and 7, as well as the phrase, with piano tunes, in line 9. In 1881, the poem was returned to drum taps. At least one biographer has speculated that the poet was here confronting a particular person. It'll be certain in the title and the first line. But there is no evidence to this effect. I think that Whitman was very much aware that there were certain antagonists to his project, and he wanted to address them. Again, we're going to ask, why is this poem in drum taps? I think the martial quality of it, and I just want to set you up to the 4 rhetorical questions that will be a part of this. Now, if you go back and read those opening poems of inscriptions, you're going to see some of the spirit that is encapsulated here at the conclusion of drum taps. I told you guys, drum taps is brilliantly constructed, where we will follow the response to the war from all of the different iterations, starting, of course, in those opening poems with the celebration and the excitement, obviously to be followed by the horror, the Dante-esque, can we even say Kafka-esque horror of what happens through the war. And then finally at the end of drum taps, how are we going to address it? What are the effects of the war? And I've called Leaves of Grass a sustained theodicy, and drum taps and the section to follow, Memories of Lincoln, as kind of the heart of that theodicy. And here we'll play something again with it. Did you ask dulcet rhymes from me? Did you seek the civilian's peaceful and languishing rhymes? Did you find what I sang erewhile so hard to follow? Why, I was not singing erewhile for you to follow, to understand, nor am I now. I have been born of the same as the war was born. The drum chords rattle as ever to me sweet music. I love well the martial dirge, with slow well and convulsive throb, leading the officer's funeral. What to such as you, anyhow, such a poet as I? Therefore, leave my works and go lull yourself with what you can understand, and with piano tunes, for I lull nobody, and you will never understand me. Now, I've had students that point out the irony that this poem deserves an exclamation point at the end, and it doesn't have one. How can you explain that? I mean, Whitman, many argue, has overused the exclamation point. I mean, just go back to the 19th section of Pomanog, for example. And yet here, we got no exclamation point here. I think there's a reason for that I'll try and explain as we get into this. The obvious question is, who is the you? And it could be understood as a certain civilian. I think the use of the word civilian is significant. This is the only time in all Leaves of Grass that word gets used. And of course, the idea of it being a certain civilian begs the question, who exactly is it that he's talking with? Notice he'll begin with the word dulcet, and we're going to hear this word one other time in Italian music in Dakota, a poem much later. Notice a few lines later it'll be sweet music. Dulcet rhymes from me, is that what you ask for? In other words, something pleasing, something soft, something easy. And I think this is the point that's being made. Go back to those early poems and inscriptions. Whitman wants to be a tough poet. He wants to be a hard poet. He wants to be an American poet. And because of that, whoever he's speaking to, he's going to say, I got no interest in soft. I got no interest in wimpy. That is to say, he's following in that Dante tradition, I think, very much. Again, his second rhetorical question, did you seek the civilian's peaceful and languishing rhymes? This idea of soothing, dulcet, peaceful, languishing, of course, comes to mind as, useless, we might say, wallowing, we might say. Did you find, third rhetorical question, did you find what I sang erewhile so hard to follow? I think hard here is an important word. I don't know that we mean difficult as in the language is difficult, because Whitman is, if he's anything, he's easy to understand. But where he takes us as a poet is demanding, and I think that's the point. In other words, what? Where I took you was too demanding, too hard to follow? Why? He says it. I wasn't singing erewhile for you to follow, to understand, nor am I now. In other words, wow. The great inclusivist thinker, the singer of songs for everyone, will in this poem say, there are some people, I'm not interested in whether they want to follow me or not. I think this is a tradition that we will find, of course, in the gospel tradition of he who has ears to hear, let him hear. This is a hard saying as a religious term, and by that I think Whitman is playing the same kind of game. And then we have this really fairly lengthy parenthetic where he defends himself. And again, he goes back to the O cause, and he says, I've been born of the same as the war was born. It's a fascinating idea, because Whitman was 40 when the war starts, and in his 40s. And then he says, I was born in the war, as was my poetry. In other words, hard, ferocious. And he'll double down. And in language that's going to be much like the opening lines of Drum Taps. The drum corps rattle is ever to me sweet music. I love well the martial dirge. Now, there's any number of poems that would seem to belie this idea. I love well the martial dirge. Obviously, there's a whole lot of sadness in Drum Taps that proves that Whitman didn't love it. I think the point he's making is not that he loves it, but that he understands its value. Again, the theodicy. He finishes with slow wail and convulsive throb. We've seen these words. Leading the officer's funeral. The I, again, of it's an officer's funeral. What to such as you, anyhow, such a poet as I? The use of the word such is quite compelling. In other words, excuse me, it's almost as if he speaks two different languages. He speaks the language of the martial poet, and then, of course, the soft reader won't appreciate it. Therefore, leave my works. Is it fun for you that he says leave, and this is called Leaves of Grass? I think it's quite remarkable. And go lull yourself. You'll maybe remember this from Song of Myself, passage 5. Only the lull I like. Now he comes back to change it. With what you can understand and piano tunes. Go back to some of those lines in Song of the Open Road at the end where he's making that observation about people who are subsumed in luxury. In other words, you're too soft to appreciate what I'm talking about here. For I lull nobody. In other words, I wake people up. I'm about the awakening. I'm not about putting people to sleep. And you will never understand me. Now, why doesn't he use an exclamation point? I think because he's not happy about it. I think Whitman was a poet who wanted to be accepted and loved by everybody. And it frustrates him that he has readers who don't get it. At 2A, I think that's it. He's got to accept the fact that sometimes people just don't get what the artist is suggesting or selling and providing. And I think the other argument is that sometimes poetry can be very hard, that it's going to be demanding. I mean, several of you have pointed out this reading of Drum Taps is difficult, it's hard, it's not easy to read. At 2B, I just love to ask questions like, why didn't he put an exclamation point at the end of this poem? And I think he's sending a very subtle message that while he is defiant, he's also sad that he can't convince all Americans to see the war the way he sees the war, as his theodicy, as a sustained theodicy. At 3A, I love to think about Chaucer in a poem like this and his general prologue. Do you guys remember at the end, we've given full lectures on this at learnstrong.net, but do you remember at the end he says it, just forgive me if I say things that offend, they are only, I'm short of wit, as you'll understand, and they're offered only to amuse, the wife of Bath will say in her prologue. In other words, I'm just dumb. that's Chaucer's way to deal with the antagonist. Here for Whitman, this poem at least, he basically says to the antagonist, you know, I don't even care that you don't understand me because you'll never get me. And finally at 3b, I'd like, I mean, how you going to own a poem like this? What do you think of the tone of this poem? Do you like the tone of this poem? Is it rather too harsh for you? It shows a side of Whitman, maybe a fragility of Whitman that we've only seen a few times in Leaves of Grass so far. Thank you.